I've also always enjoyed the idea that St. Patrick is the patron saint of Ireland and St. Brigid is the female patron saint of Ireland. And this is something that comes up a lot. Jimmy Carr is a comedian, and I'm a female comedian. Andrew Murray is a tennis player, and Serena Williams is a female tennis player. So it's like, you're it, but like, do you know what I mean? Just slightly like, well done. Like you're doing the job, but with a slight lean of your head to the side, in some way. And it's always kind of bothered me because in some way you're congratulated for even getting up and trying it out, but we sort of lower our expectations of what we can achieve to just be the patron goddamn saint of Ireland in our own way as well. And I used to get this a lot when I first started out, the compliment. And it was a lot from women going, oh my God, I don't normally like female comedians, but I love you. And you sit there and you go, oh my God, thank you. You think I'm almost as good as a man? Well, whoop-de-doo. And then after a while you start thinking, oh no, I'm not, that's not a compliment. Like what element of self-hatred in ourselves allows us to think like, I don't normally like women, i.e. me. The insult in the sentence is the word woman, but I don't mind you. You take up space like a man. And I've had to fight that sometimes when people with all of the right intentions come up to me and go, sorry, that's not a compliment. They go, God, she's very arrogant, isn't she? She's not so nice on stage as she is. I was only trying to compliment the girl. But in those moments you're trying to say, no, that's not, I would rather be bad as a comedian rather than good for a woman in some way. And it's very hard because in certain ways nights like this are so glorious when we should be lifted up and all brought together, but then how do we manage where we limit our expectations, that once we've broken through the ceiling that we didn't even expect ourselves to break through, our subconscious and old ideas and everything that we were attached to sort of drags us down, thinking, well, maybe I'll just accept less in some way. And in that sense, I often find that also in female literature. I grew up devouring Maeve Binchy and Marion Keyes. And even from the age of 13, I loved the way they talked about our stories and things in some ways, and they were often cast aside as chick lit, as female literature. Female is not a genre. Crime is, romance is, but female is not a genre. So there's no such thing as female literature. There's literature with females in it. But sometimes I got put in female comedy, or my show is a female show. It's a show that everybody can watch with females in it. And we are not a separate category in a little holding area. I say that realising that you're literally in a holding area right now. A lot of women, we stuck you in one little room now. But I often think of like, God, Edna O'Brien's book, Country Girls, getting banned for so long for essentially just a couple of references to moments of intimacy between women, which would honestly be like a boring episode of Love Island tonight in terms of what was actually referenced in there. But we were so starved for any of our stories, and we weren't allowed bigger stories. We weren't allowed things to not happen around a kitchen sink for so long. So those moments and those little moments were so huge to us because that's where our lives happened. And actually, if you think of the bigger things that happen in history, all of those are on the shoulders of little moments in kitchen sinks and chats and sitting round and deciding to sort of, my mother always talks about my granny going to mass. She didn't really believe, but she liked the chats outside. And that's the only place she was allowed go and chat. Hence the amount of women at mass a lot of the time. And sharing stories about like, how did you get on with your childbirth? How did you, that's where they could talk and convey stories and pass on information. And ultimately some juicy gossip all the time as well. But I hate the idea that I suppose they're made trivial or like chick lit in that some way or less than, because those moments are everything to us. And I'm so excited by the success of the movie Little Women at the moment. It's become a huge box office smash. I'm excited about it for a couple of reasons. One of them is that my sister Sinead is actually an assistant costume designer on it. They've been nominated for Oscars and BAFTAs this weekend. She hates being mentioned, so this is kind of bullying. But I also loved, that was a movie that was so important to us growing up, because we watched this, I was raised on my own by our mother, and watching Little Women in the movie at the time, and also the Louisa May Alcott book, was so gorgeous, seeing this mother without the father present, raising up this variety of women, a bulgy person and a sort of softer person, and the varieties of type of women you could see in this little world. And now, even though a lot of, like, Greta Gerwig isn't technically getting recognised for directing it, the success of it is too much to think that it's only women going to the cinema. And once we start making money, it was the same with the movie Bridesmaids. That was a critical success for everybody to watch it. It wasn't a female movie. And actually, sometimes that financial side pushes us forward. We sort of have to, like, back women and buy their stuff, because that is, money helps us move forward in many ways. I feel like it's such an exciting time for women. St. Brigid's Day marks, in Ireland, only in Ireland, the start of spring. Found that out the hard way. I was like, well, the start of spring. Spring doesn't start till March. I think, English person, you're wrong, because everybody knows it's the 1st of February, St. Brigid's Day. That's when you get your new cross out that was made by a child in Kildare somewhere for 0 money, and you put it on the door to stop evil coming into the house. Science, English person, come on. But yes, so it's our start of spring. And I sort of feel, after the last couple of years, in terms of the change that's happened for Irish women, this is our spring. Like, we've gone through our December of protests and January of soothing our wounds, and now we're leaning into the changes that have happened and embracing them. We have literally just gained ownership over our bodies in Ireland. Until recent history, your brother or any man in your family could, if he didn't like the way you were behaving, put you into a Magdalene laundry. And we all know how dangerous that is, because sometimes my sister was annoying. And if I had had that power back in the day, I don't know, that's all I'm saying. But we've just gotten our bodies back and to own them. Until now, they've been shunned and shamed and sheared and squashed into spanks and all sorts. And now we're finally going, yeah, I own all of this now. What are we going to do with it? My mother was worried about me mentioning anything like this in the embassy, and I thought, God, isn't that interesting that there was a worry? Even when I came in, I was like, oh, the pensioners' choir are here. I'm like, going to be sad now if I mention repeal the 8th. And this got in my head, and I was like, why should we be sad about talking about something that we weren't allowed to do for ages? We literally can create life if we so want to, if we're bothered, within our bodies, and we were told to push that aside. And St. Brigid, and Aoife, who's a lovely scientist I met earlier, was also reminding me, St. Brigid did one of the first abortions ever. She actually took a lady who was incredibly sad because she'd gotten pregnant, and she made the pregnancy disappear, which we all know that story, St. Brigid. And in a sense, what she did was decide to give a woman back choice in that moment. And I love that that's what we've been given, and the choice of it. I love that we've been given back our bodies in some way, and I feel like we're launching into the spring to decide what to do with them now. I also think, when I was thinking about mentioning that at the embassy on the big night of St. Bridget, and my aunt, who's a nun, Sister Moore, was going, now Aisling, it's the embassy. And I was like, I know, it's the embassy. And then I was like, every Bloomsday, we all read out James Joyce, and he is the biggest filth bag you've ever come across. And I was like, here I am, worried about mentioning a medical condition. Like, come on, for all of his nutty gizzards and things smelling of urine rolls. So that's literature.